And so I wrote to them, and then I did get a reply
Hi.
from one.
Yes, just come on in.
So anyway, that's what the committee.
Welcome.
Interesting. We got seats there, here, there. You need an agenda.
Yeah.
Andy, do you need this?
No, I have one.
Okay, folks on the committee, just so you know, our meetings are broadcast live on TV, so just be aware. Hot mics, you know what they say. All right, well, welcome everyone to this, which is our initial meeting of the Goffstown River Advisory Committee. I'm going to start out with, basically tonight we're going to cover a lot of administrative stuff, who we are, when we're going to meet, those sorts of things. Before, I don't think we're going to get into a lot of heavy issues like what we need to discuss, what our focus should be, and those sorts of things. Those will play out over time. But tonight I want to take an opportunity to just take care of some of the administrative stuff. And with that being said, I wanted to start with some introductions. My name's Collis Adams. I am the Select Board Liaison to this committee. I serve on the Select Board. So by default, I am the chair of this committee, at least for now, and as long as you'll have me. We will need to, tonight, appoint a vice chair and a scribe to round out the executive committee of this committee. So we'll take care of that bit of business tonight. But again, to start with intros, I told you a little bit about who I am. I've been in Goffstown for a long time. I served on many boards. I serve on the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission right now. I've also served on Parks and Rec, Economic Development. I've served on most committees. So I've been in Goffstown for 38 years, I think it is. So I know Goffstown pretty well. I certainly know the waterways in Goffstown. I was involved with a group that built the waterfront, if you've been to the waterfront where the boat ramp is, and there's some boat parking lot across the street, as well as some on-street parking for Goffstown residents. So I was involved with that project and a lot of other stuff as well. So I've always liked being busy on local issues in town, and I enjoy it very much. So when this opportunity arose, I told the Select Board I'd be happy to serve as their liaison on this committee. I also am a retiree from the Department of Environmental Services, so I know a lot of water stuff. So I think, you know, my background, my experience will lend itself well to some of the conversations that we have around this table over the coming weeks and months. So that's a little bit about me. Why don't we go around to the left and...
Collis, do you mind starting with Jane, only because we do have a remote?
Thank you. Yeah, we do have one person participating remotely. Jane, you can hear us, right?
I can hear you loud and clear, Collis.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Jane Raymond. My husband James and I have lived in Goffstown for over 4 years. That's 40. I've been Conservation Commissioner in 2 different stints. One early on in the late 80s, and then again just recently reappointed a year or so ago. I was on the school board for 9 years. I am a retired chemistry teacher, so I've got some of that sciencey stuff like Collis. And I am a master gardener. I was trained by the Extension Service just a couple of years ago, and so I'm still teaching, talking about invasive plants and pollinators and native plants, and so I still got my toe in the water. I'm very interested in this committee and hope that some of my background will assist in understanding what we need to do.
Thank you, Jane. Why don't we go this way, Paul?
You're welcome.
Paul, why don't you go to my left?
All right, I'm Paul Gagney. Been in Goffstown for over 30 years, and a little longer because my dad had a camp in Goffstown, which got me to buy a house in Goffstown right on the river. So I've got to see the river changed over 35 plus years, where it was unswimmable once upon a time, and now it's as clean as can be, where we can actually stock trout in our rivers and actually have them populate, which is phenomenal to have that kind of water quality. So I've been in Goffstown that long. Grew up, Collis and I met. I coached in Little League for about 14 years between Little League and travel soccer for Tri-Town, active here in town. I'm also on the Mascate Lake Association board as well, making sure that we're taking care of the milfoil down on our end of the lake, and looking forward to helping out.
Thanks. Thank you, Paul. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Barbara Schultz, and I've been here probably like 30 years. I'd have to go back exactly when I moved to Goffstown. I did live on the lake, Glen Lake, for a number of years, probably 6 or 7. I enjoy the water very much. I kayak, I swim, and I try to really enjoy just even bird watching and so forth. I also was on Concom as an alternate for a number of years. That's the Conservation Commission. And then I also had a position with the Amoskeag Fishways. I learned a lot about the anadromous fish that swim against the current and have to go up the dams and so forth. So I thought that perhaps that knowledge would also be beneficial to the group. But I just have a keen interest in, helping out and making sure that the resource that we have is beneficial for the community members, but also for the fish.
Thank you, Barbara. So we've got some people with some institutional knowledge, so that's good. And I see some folks that are significantly younger than I am, which is good too. So I think we've got a good cross-section of folks. Thanks, Barbara. And
good afternoon, or good evening. Josh Elliott. My wife and I have lived in Goffstown since 2017, so a lot, single digits at this point. Although I'm a graduate of St. Anselm College, so I probably got a couple extra years based on that. In my day job, I'm a division director with the state, with New Hampshire Department of Energy. Frequently collaborate with folks at DES, so I'm sure there's probably a lot of names that we know. So I sort of come from it, given there's a couple of hydroelectric dams, sort of the energy background. I've been in the policy space at the state level for the last 15 years, including working with the state legislature, the state senate for 6 years. So I've been involved at sort of the state level. I thought this would be a good opportunity, given my skill set, to help out here at the town level.
thank you. Welcome.
I think I'm going to be the least tenured resident on the lake, but my name's Christopher Carabin. Just moved to Cove Street, right on the water, on Namaski last July. Fell in love with the property, fell in love with the area, love being on the water. We actually just used the backyard for our wedding last week.
Congratulations.
Very sentimental for us, even though it's only been a year. But I'm an air traffic controller based out of Boston Tracon, which is actually in Merrimack, New Hampshire. And just I wanted to be a part of it because I don't want it to go anywhere. I want the lake to be very, I want it to flourish as long as we live there, and we intend to make a life here and in Goffstown, and really happy with the area and happy with the people. And a little bit different, not a lot of technical background for me, but
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on board.
Thank you very much.
Derek, want to jump around?
Can you tell me your name again?
Christopher Carabin.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Derek Horn. I'm the town administrator serving for the select board and also other residents. I'll be your staff liaison as we start out. That may change at some future date, but we'll see. And I am also a resident of Goffstown, but I will not be a voting member on this. We're, again, providing the staff support to this newly formed committee.
Thanks, Derek. Your support's going to be very important to us. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Carteret. I live in the village here on the river on West Union Street. That's where Lions Club Field is. So we've been here for about 20 years, and I've never been on the Conservation Commission, but I enjoy the environment and I enjoy using the water. And so when we moved here, I got involved with what's called the Piscataquag River Local Advisory Committee, which is a DES committee that provides for each community along the river to have representation, and it's kind of within a quarter of a mile of each side of the river we have the opportunity to review any plans, any issues, and we provide kind of like a voice to DES at the local level about what's going on and how things can be impacted. So that's how I got involved with the Piscataquag River when we moved here. So I'm on this committee as a representative of the Piscataquag River Local Advisory Committee. And so there's a representative from Ware, there's a representative from New Boston, Francistown, Goffstown, Manchester, so all those communities. And we're always looking for additional people to join that committee. I have been on the Economic Development Committee or Council a number of years, so that's where I first kind of got involved in town government, if you will. Since then, I've kind of moved to playing more of a role in ad hoc committees, and there was a couple ad hoc committees along the river that I've been involved with. One of them was assessing all of the town-owned properties along the river, and it was from Hadley Falls Dam to Glen Lake Dam, and we kind of wrote up a report. You can find that report of what our recommendations were as a committee to maintain, improve, and best use for those properties. And then I was on a bridge committee, the pedestrian bridge committee, which is right here in the village where the old railroad trestle is, or the trestle was, and the abutments are still there. The idea is, do we want to put a pedestrian bridge in there? And so there's been 2 ad hoc committees looking at that issue. And then with regards to this committee, a group of us here, kind of citizens, got together and have done a lot of research and work on this, why the town needs this committee. And so we were happy that the select board adopted it and has moved it forward, and I'm happy that everybody's here and I'm on the committee, and thank you. So
Thanks, Andy. Andy wears a lot of hats.
For sure. Hi, I'm Dick Bruno, and I'm here, officially I'm here as a representative of the Economic Development Council. I've been in town for, I don't know, I'm going to compete with you guys. I've been around 40 years or so. I stopped counting at 40, but I've been involved in a lot of different committees over my time here in town. I live very close by to the water, not on the water, but the town means a lot to me. And Andy's, I got to give him credit, because I think probably we wouldn't be here tonight. He really had a lot to do with the charter that was put together, and we did serve with him. I was just a group of concerned citizens when we heard what was going on with the Hadley Falls Dam to begin with. That was the first thing that kind of shocked me a bit. So I'm not scientific, and certainly don't have a whole lot of experience or background in waterways, but I do have a lot of experience with regard to town administration and the town itself. And my big, I think, what brought me here, or brought me to help Andy, was the fact that I think the Hadley Falls Dam is central to this town, and a lot of things revolve around the Hadley Falls Dam. Certainly there are more dams down the river which we've got to be concerned about, but that is the key right now to me, and I think it will make a big difference. And from an economic development position, I think it's important as well. So I'm looking forward to working with you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Dick.
Hi, I'm Dia Stolnitz. I live in the old grist mill on Mill Street. So even in the application, I said, I'm not on the waterfront, I'm actually on the water. It is great to have you fellas leading us, and we did gather as a volunteer group for a number of months. Great kudos to Andy, because he pulled together so much info. We were trying to be in touch with Corey Clark of New Hampshire DES. Derek has been a terrific help. I love all the positive comments. We all want to help. We all want to help Goffstown. We want to maintain the beauty and the history and the character of the town, how everybody wants to use their expertise and experience to help. I've been in Goffstown, I'd say over 25 years. My daughter went to all the Goffstown schools. She's now 34. In my past, not doing it anymore, but just as background, so I'm an artist. I taught for 25 years at the New Hampshire Institute of Art, color photography. I worked for 25 years at FIRST, which stands for Inspiration, Recognition of Science and Technology. We do the robotics competition. And I've lived in the mill building for 25 years, so there's kind of a pattern here. I think I'm such a pioneer. But I'm delighted to be part of this group and look forward to working together to make positive things happen.
Thank you, Dia. Excellent. So one of the items that we need to take care of tonight is I'm serving as the select board liaison and by default the chair of the committee, at least for now, as long as you'll have me, and depending upon how votes go in election years to come. But so that's how I'm serving right now. So we do have two other executive positions on the committee. One is vice chair and the other is scribe, and we need to fill those positions. So what I want to do right now is just sort of get a feel for the members of the committee who are around the table here. If there's anybody who would like to step forward and volunteer to be either the vice chair or the scribe, or want to nominate somebody, I'm kidding. But if there's somebody who has a yearning to fill one of those roles, it would be great. The scribe, it's not as boring as it sounds. You know, they take minutes, but they're called minutes, not hours. So, you know, they're very brief. Synopsis, the important stuff. Who attended, when was the meeting, who attended the meeting, were there any votes taken, what was the result of the votes, basically. And then a general, brief overview of what was discussed. What's that?
That was you.
I think it was an echo.
Oh, okay. So we need to fill those two positions. So if we can do that tonight, that would be great. If everybody's bashful and they want to think about it, whether or not they want to step forward and fill one of those positions, we can table this to the next meeting. Another thing we need to do tonight is decide upon a night of the week and which night and week in the month we want to meet. I can tell you from my experience, tonight, Tuesday nights, is kind of a soft spot in the town calendar. There's not a whole lot of other people who meet on Tuesday nights, which is one of the reasons we selected tonight for this initial meeting. So I'm just trying to get a feeling for other folks. Does Tuesday nights work for you at this time, 6 o'clock? Would you rather do 7? Would you rather do another night of the week? Like I say, I think for me, certainly as the select board does not meet on Tuesday. They meet on Mondays. Conservation Commission meets on Wednesday. Planning board's Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, I mean, Thursdays, 2 Thursdays of the month. So Tuesdays, like I say, is a pretty soft spot in the municipal calendar. So what are folks' thoughts on the day of the week and the time of the meetings as we move forward? Because it'll be up to the chairman and the vice chair to set the agenda, which includes obviously the days that we meet. So the chair and vice chair will work together on the items that go forward on each agenda as we meet. And that's kind of how we need to kick things off here, to fill those two positions, come up with a consensus of the group, what night, what time of that night, what night of the week, what week of the month works best.
Tuesdays are great for me at 6 or 7 p.m.
Okay?
Tuesdays are great for me, but I definitely would prefer 6 over 7.
Okay.
Right there, same here. 6 o'clock's perfect.
Same. I have a 4-year-old, so it's nice to be able to say goodnight. Tuck her in and read a story.
Got it.
Generally, I work Tuesday evenings, but I was able to get out a little bit early today. That's why I literally showed up at 6 o'clock, but I can be flexible. I can try to work my schedule around and get here when I can.
Okay.
Just might make it difficult to actually try to take notes or anything like that, though, if I am unable to get here.
So we do have alternate members who can sit in when one of the regular members isn't present, but it's nice to have the regular members so that the thought process and the issues that we're discussing carry forward seamlessly from week to week and month to month, but appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll make best
Collis,
efforts.
what do you think of frequency-wise? Once a month or?
Well,
Right.
we're going to touch on that
I was
too.
going to ask, how often are we
Well,
meeting?
my thoughts are once a month is fine for now. I mean, as we meet and we identify issues, we may find that we need to meet more often, less often, times of the year where it may be quiet and we want to meet less often. During the summer when people are having vacations, they're often away from home, away from Goffstown. That certainly happens a lot, but that's something we can discuss. But for now, I just want to kind of nail down the day and the time. So I'm hearing Tuesday at 6.
So
I'm gonna stop it.
Sorry.
Can you hear me? I'm
Hi.
gonna say, this is Jane Raymond. I think Tuesday works great for me because, of course, I have conservation on Wednesdays, so does Collis. I think Tuesday's a good night. And I'm happy with 6, but I can do 7 if we have to.
Yep. Well,
So Tuesdays, the first Tuesday of the month is the Bridge Committee.
Yeah, we're a bridge committee.
The third Tuesday of the month is the PRLAC meeting, so I'm good the second or fourth Tuesday, if there is a fourth, of the month.
So the second Tuesday is when the sewer commission meets in this room. So we could find an alternate location that does, we don't have video capabilities at all locations though, so if we meet at another location, we're unable to videotape the meeting, which some residents do actually watch those meetings, believe it or not, so.
The last
well,
Tuesday,
my thoughts are the sewer commission is what, 3 members strong, right?
They are,
Dick, what about you?
I'm good with the same thing as Andy. We have the bridge committee meets the first Tuesday, but after that, I'm fine.
So how's the 4th Tuesday? Did that work for
Fourth
everybody?
Tuesday, fourth Tuesday.
Yeah, any Tuesday, sure.
Christopher, if it's only once a month, is that amenable to you to try to work, or it depends?
It will depend. I guess they're calling it a staffing crisis because we're probably sub 60% staffing, which does generally require a lot of overtime and very limited shift changes. However, I was able to make this one work, and if I have enough notice where I can kind of bend their ears a little bit about making my schedule a little bit more flexible on the 4th Tuesday of every month, I should be able to make something work. And worst case scenario, I think I could do something telecommute kind of a thing.
Just make sure it's not the Tuesday that I'm flying.
What about 6:30 for you?
So my normal shift right now would be 1:15 to 9:15.
Okay.
Going forward, it's going to be 3 to 11. So I'm going to have to try to get to at least a 10 to 6 and try to take some time off at the end of my shift. But I'm willing to try whatever I need to do. This is important to me, so it's, I'll make something work that works with everybody else. So I don't want to be the cog in the wheel that stops progress here. So whatever we got to do, I'll try to make it work.
I serve on a number of committees. The select board meets at 6, which I don't like because it's too early. It's like, do you eat supper or do you not eat supper? The 7 o'clock meetings, I can't wait till 7 to eat supper, so 6 or 6:30, somebody proposed is sort of a compromise. Certainly I can make that work as
Just
well.
trying to help, but it
Oh, I
doesn't help
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not gonna help.
we're trying.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you want us to bring you
I
something to
think,
eat?
hello, this is Janie again. I'm just looking at the calendar. There are 4 Tuesdays in October, but in November, the 4th Tuesday is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
which may be a problem. And the 4th Tuesday in December is the 24th. So
Well,
I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, when the chair and the vice
Yeah,
chair get their heads together and they set the meeting and the agenda, we'll have to keep those things in mind.
Okay.
So there's going to be some one-offs. I'm just trying to get a consensus on what seems to work best. And it seems like we're talking the 4th Tuesday. 6 or 6:30?
6 is good.
yeah, I like the 6.
6?
I like 6.
Okay,
Sorry.
We'll have to bring you snacks.
I'll be okay.
I think the only alternative night that we potentially have are Wednesday nights. We don't have let me just make sure I'm looking at the right day of the week.
Concom's the 4th Wednesday.
Concom is the 4th, and Parks and Rec, are you on Parks and Rec this?
And
So-
you, don't you meet on Wednesdays?
They meet on the first Wednesday. Economic Development meets on the first Wednesday. Conservation's on the 4th Wednesday. The only other one are Library Board of Trustees, but that's a different select board member. And there's not a whole lot of crossover between, content between those. So another option would be maybe the 2nd or 3rd Wednesday.
Does that make any difference for you?
That does help me, but I don't,
Oh,
again,
so then let's switch it to Wednesday.
Yep, I'm good Wednesdays.
I'm good
Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
Wednesdays
All right,
fine.
which Wednesday of the month?
my schedule will be the same any Wednesday, so any one that works best for everybody else.
Anybody else, any Wednesday of them?
It doesn't matter.
Any Wednesday.
Any Wednesday, okay, except for the 4th, that's.
Or the first, because economic
Yeah,
development
EDC,
counts.
yeah.
So I would say it'd have to be the second or the third
Second or third
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
And that should help as we get into November and
Yeah.
December as
Yeah.
well.
yeah. So, second or third, vote for,
I go
folks,
for 3.
third Wednesday? Anybody else, third Wednesday, everybody good with that?
That works?
All righty.
At 6?
6 o'clock, I think we're talking about 6 o'clock, are we
Yeah.
not? Yes, third
Yes.
Wednesday at 6. So, let's make this formal, let's take a vote on this. Somebody make a motion, please, for the,
I'd make a motion that we meet officially on the third Wednesday of each month at 6 PM.
okay?
I'll second that.
Thank you, a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Oh,
Aye.
I'm sorry, you do need to do a roll call.
Oh, that's
because we
right, I'm
have
sorry,
a
yep,
remote
because we've
member.
got a remote participant. So after we're on aye,
Hold on, and
go to record.
Paul and Josh
Oh,
are our two
Thank you,
alternates, so they
yeah.
will not be voting this evening.
Okay,
Aye.
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 Aye?
Aye.
aye.
And Jane?
Jane?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. I didn't get the count, what's the count?
It's 7. Who had the second? Was that you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion passes, so we have the night, the day of the week, and the time set. The next administrative detail would be vice chair and scribe. You know, I don't want to pressure anybody. If you need some time to think about it, we can table this till the next meeting and vote on it then, but if somebody wants to step forward at this point, by all means.
Collis, I'd be happy to serve in either one of those positions.
Oh, I'm so happy. I was going to nominate you, but I didn't know if that was fair. I don't know any
But I
of
don't
you
want
well
to take
enough,
away the
but
opportunity if somebody else wants to.
I think you're great, Andy, in either position.
Anybody else have a desire to serve in either of those roles?
And we'll play rock, paper, scissors to
Yeah.
this one.
No, I think that's a good choice.
Okay. Nobody else wants to challenge Andy for the all-important vice chair position?
No.
Okay.
And be an open convention, you don't have to do it.
See, and right now, I guess we're going to table the scribe, Derek, for now.
That's fine.
Is that okay?
Yes.
I was gonna nominate Dia.
Yeah, I was too. She looks very
She's riding
official up there.
away. She looks very ready for the position, but you think about it.
Well, I'll think about it, but you know, Andy's minutes are really good, but I understand we need 2 people.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
can I think about it?
you sure can.
Okay.
We'll table it and we'll bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
Should we put the timer on now? for
Yeah, we
her?
should. We should. But we do have Andy for vice chair.
Yep.
Great.
Right, we voted on, did we vote on that?
We did not vote on
I
it.
think you as the chair can appoint. I think typically that's been the process with our municipal committees.
Okay, in that case, I'm appointing Andy.
And I accept the appointment.
And you know, I don't want to push somebody into the scribe position that's not comfortable with it. So if you'll think about it and, you know, email me or call me, my information's on the town website, and let me know that you're interested, then that'll save some time at our next meeting.
Is anybody else interested?
So,
No, I'll tell you what my problem is. I have a landline still, just to give you background. I use a 4x5 camera, you know, under the black thing, and my computer is not working. So I am gonna get a new computer. I know, it's kind of amazing to some of you, right? That I don't have a working computer.
That sounds great.
When you start
We're all jealous.
That's my concern, is I don't have a working computer. I've been doing everything on my phone. It's not the doing of it, it's the how can I type things up for all of you.
I'm willing to help support the scribe position because I've been doing it for like the bridge committee and some of the other stuff. So,
that's helpful.
you
Okay,
know, so it's-
okay.
And I would say Derek does provide basically a template that you just check the boxes and kind of.
You mean you
Yeah.
say when,
meet.
who
Yeah.
attended?
Exactly, yeah.
One.
I've got it, actually, I believe Selectman Adams has one in front of him if
Yeah,
you'd like
I
to
do.
look at it. It has all the members, whether they're present, absent, or remote. It also, I break out the agenda of everything that you're going to discuss. We really need an accurate record of motions and votes. Other discussion is not as critical. So if you want to look at that, and maybe we can talk, you and I can talk before the next meeting
Okay.
and come up with a system.
And if Andy's willing to help, then I'm happy to.
There you go.
And Derek, of course.
So I'm going to pass around the template. So who was interested in scribe? Where should I go? Up here, let's pass
She
that.
just, I
Why don't
think
we-
she's just
You,
committed.
Dia,
Do we have this? Is this part of our?
No, I did not hand it out to
No.
every
Okay.
member.
Well, Andy?
trying to see.
I have one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Surprise, surprise.
Get right to work.
Yeah, okay.
But generally what I have been doing, Dee, is just writing on that, kind of just
As you
describing
go
my
along.
notes, and then afterwards I reflect on them and write the minutes based on the notes. So
And Derek, is that something that you review before that it's passed out?
So when we get the
Yeah.
minutes, we do a quick
Okay.
review.
And you as well, Tom?
Yes, yeah, before each meeting, we'll bring up the minutes and make a motion on the minutes if they need to be modified, upgraded, added to, or whatever. And then we'll
Okay.
take a vote on accepting the minutes of the prior meeting.
And do you send the minutes out to the committee? Or do you?
Derek, it's all for Derek.
Derek does?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And how much in advance of the meetings do you like to have the minutes sent?
So minutes by statute have to be publicly available within 5 business days.
Within 5 business days?
Of the
before?
meeting,
Okay.
not before of the last meeting.
Okay.
And I'll get to that in a minute on the right to know law, but yes.
Okay, everybody all set with that? Any questions? Good. Thank you very much for stepping forward, appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to hand it off to you, Derek, because we've got to talk about the charter
Yes.
and the right to know.
So everybody does have a copy of the charter in front of you. Again, this is an advisory committee to advise the select board on all matters relating to the river. There is a focus on the 3 dams, 2 which are in Goffstown, Hadley Falls and Greg Falls, as well as Kelly Falls. Kelly Falls, while it is in Manchester, Namaski Lake has quite a few Goffstown residential units along it. So it's really for an advisory committee to the select board relating to the management, preservation, sustainability, recreation, all those items. I would say that this committee is going to be giving advice to the select board, and then the select board would be able to take action under what authority they have. This committee has limited authority, but I think you do have the ability to gather public input and do a lot of the legwork and then provide that advice to the select board. If anyone has any questions about the charter, please do not hesitate to ask. Town Hall will serve as the supporting department of this, so you will see emails from myself or from Catherine Fisher, who serves as the executive secretary to the select board, or also maybe Danielle Besora. She is our assistant town administrator. But all communication will flow through Town Hall. Although it's not specified in the charter, this committee does have 2 alternate members. Alternate members are absolutely welcome to participate in the discussion, in the legwork, and when a regular member is not present, we'll be able to, whoever is the acting chair at that meeting will name an alternate member to take votes. So I think it's important that if you're available, come participate in the discussions, add your experience, your expertise, and there will probably be many meetings where you'll be a voting member as well.
Thank you, Derek.
Derek, when you said, is there a number of votes, and Andy was counting,
This is a committee of 7,
Okay,
which means that there must be 4 members present for a quorum to have a meeting. Now, that 4 can be made up of regular members and alternate members. In the case this evening, Jane is participating remotely. There is a provision for that in the right to know law, so if you find that you can't make a meeting and you give us enough notice, we can have people participate remotely. We do need a quorum. We need a quorum in the room. Physically in the room. Not just a majority, so we would need at least 4 members present, but yeah, we would welcome, and we can have more than one person participate remotely if need be.
And Derek, who currently, do we have the 2 alternates? I think Paul is one.
Paul and Josh.
Oh, you're as well, okay.
Yep, yep.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
so can I just make some comments on the charter?
absolutely.
Our little committee here worked on a lot of this charter content, and I just wanted to provide some feedback. I don't know if you've read the charter. There's a number of things that we're charged under duties and responsibilities. We shall engage the stakeholders, conduct research and analysis. But I gotta, and you can correct me, Collis, if you go to section 4C and D, that any engagement really needs to be subject to select board review. So we cannot just, I don't believe, just go out and start
Right.
talking to the public as members and promoting things, or without really it coming through the committee and agreeing on that approach collectively. And I can see this being a very hot issue as things go down and say they're lowering it 2 feet, and everybody, we have to be really careful about how we approach that. And I don't know if you were going to cover that.
I wasn't, so thank you.
But that's important to note, Andy, because
Yeah.
we had to convince the select board when we set up this meeting that they would still be engaged in the process in
Right.
any major decision-making. So anything that we talk about and we want to make recommendations for has to go through the select board as a sort of a clearinghouse, so that they're aware of what's going on, they won't be caught by surprise with anything. And that's more than reasonable, I think, and it was a concession that we made to get the select board to sign on and support the formation of this committee.
So can I just ask a protocol question? So if someone in the community who knows I'm on the committee sees me and says, hey, I want to talk to you about the river, I mean, we can engage in conversation, right?
Of course you can, we just
Yes.
can't have a quorum, a majority of the committee meeting at the same time, even if it's casually
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, got it.
down at the pub to
Got
have
it,
a
got it,
beer, you
got it.
can't do
Okay.
that, so we have to be
Okay.
careful of that.
Okay.
Because that would be a meeting that would have to be properly noticed. And that really shouldn't happen anyways, and I don't think it will, but we should be aware of that.
I see the difference, okay.
But I would also be cautious personally on like Facebook posts and stuff like that. If
Yeah.
you're on this committee, you represent, not yourself, you represent this committee and then the select boards. So if there's a discussion and you're commenting, you need to be aware of who you're representing or how you're commenting on that. And that's really, like it says, engage with stakeholders, so engage in the community members, organize experts through the public meeting surveys. I think those things really are supposed to happen collectively here, like we would have, I'm not the chair, but we have a discussion, we bring in experts, we have an open meeting to the public. But I don't think we have side conversations about those without the collective, recommendation or agreement.
Yeah, and that's not meant to stifle anybody's ability to have conversation when they're out in the public.
Yeah.
But the important thing to remember is err on the side of caution. And always make it clear that you're speaking, if you're not speaking on behalf of this committee, and you shouldn't be, quite frankly, that you make it clear to who you're talking to that it's your personal opinions, not the position of this committee.
Good way to approach it.
That's always the safe side to be on.
Mhm.
That probably answers your question, Barbara. I think you're just, if people engage you and ask you questions about that, I think it's your opinion.
Okay, I got it clarified, thank you.
But it's important to know what the public's thinking, because if you read the charter, a lot of this talks about outreach and dealing with the public and engaging the public, so that's an important component of what we're going to do moving forward, so we don't want to stifle that, certainly.
Like, if in the future Hadley Falls Dam is removed, there is going to be a huge public discussion about what the river looks like after that. And so there's outreach, there may be surveys, there may be community meetings just talking about, do we put a walkway in? Do we, put boulders in the river? What do we want our community to look like?
Yeah, and so, just to touch briefly on that, I don't know if you said if or when, anybody, I want people to know that that's a done deal.
Yeah,
The Hadley Falls
when.
Dam is coming out. I mean, that's going to happen. But there's conversations going on as to, well, what's it going to look like when the
Right.
dam's gone? And DES has been very cooperative, asking us what we'd like to see in its place. Walkways, amphitheaters, fishing piers, whatever. So, but I don't want to get too deep into that
Right.
because we're kind of wandering off
But,
topic.
but you will, that's coming to the select board, and you would then share that with us as far as
Absolutely.
any conversations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Derek, did you touch on 91A?
Nope, I can touch on 91A. You do have a two-sided handout from the New Hampshire Municipal Association that provides just a brief overview of public meetings and governmental documents. The basic rule is anytime you have a quorum of a public body together, that is a public meeting, there is required, we must notice that meeting at least 24 hours prior. We must keep minutes. And for that reason, a lot of the times you'll see communication that comes out of town hall will be a blind copy to all members. Typically, I would have the select board chair and the vice chair on the CC line, so if you hit respond all, what you're going to do is you're going to get the chairman, the vice chair, myself, if you can't make a meeting or if you have any questions. But it doesn't start an email conversation with the entire board. So you'll typically see that. Know that anytime that you receive an email from Town Hall or you send an email to Town Hall, it becomes a governmental record. It is an email that can be requested. Non-public sessions will most likely not occur in this committee. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, we'll do minutes, and the staff here at Town Hall will support that to get those posted within 5 business days. When we're sharing documents, those become governmental documents that people then can come in and view and request. But yeah, I think that's that's like the 10,000 foot view, but if anybody has any specific questions about something, please don't hesitate to let me know.
Thank you, Derek. Anybody got questions so far? for
I
Derek or
do.
myself, or-
So if, let's say today I sent information on the Hooksett Dam's fall, just FYI, am I allowed to send that to everybody, or do I always just send it to the chair?
No, I think that's a great question. I think probably if you have information that you'd like shared with the entire committee, that you send it to the chair and myself.
Okay.
Just say, hey, can we share this with the entire committee? And if Selectman Adams thinks that that has some benefit, absolutely, we can share it. But rather than you emailing it out to, we can kind of send that out to everybody. One of the nice things about that is by sending it through our office, that goes into our email filters, and that way if we ever do get a right-to-know request for records, we can work with our IT department to quickly pull those items because we can tag them and everything.
Okay.
And I think
then-
that'll help put your mind at ease. If you found out through myself and Derek, we can say, hey, wait a minute, whoa, whoa.
Okay. And then, just so I'm clear, if I'm taking on minutes, so here it says, minutes must be kept for all public meetings made available to the public upon request within 5 business days after the meeting.
Yes. So tomorrow will be day 1.
Okay,
Tomorrow will be day 1, and then we have 5 business days. So it really needs to be ready. This is a Tuesday meeting. By the close of business Tuesday of next week, is when they should be publicly available.
Oh, somehow I thought you said 5
So it's
days
business days.
before
Business days.
the next meeting.
I'm sorry, no, it's 5 business days after
After.
the meeting, yes.
Oh, pressure's on. And,
Clock is ticking.
yeah,
But it is business days, so you could.
business day. Oh, we got the weekend off.
Yeah.
Right to know question.
Yeah.
So say, for example, an email is sent out from you and the chair saying, hey, look at this information. I email Barbara and say, oh, can you believe that? That's nuts. Is that then subject to right to know? Because I'm just emailing it to one other member?
If you're emailing it to one other member, no, it isn't. It-
Okay.
It needs to be a quorum of the board.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay.
And also know that when we respond to those right-to-know requests, we do redact any private information. So your private email addresses, we redact those. So actually, when we get a right-to-know request, it triggers quite a few things. We have to have IT pull them all, they put them all aside, and then we actually have to have staff go through and redact any private information that is protected. But yes, if you were, or if there was somebody on the committee that you see at Sully's, and, hey, what do you think of this? That it's really when there's a whole quorum involved.
Gotcha.
Is there a reason for that? I mean, I'm just curious because this is all brand new to me. Is there a reason not to engage in a quorum of conversation?
Yeah, it's really to do all the business of a public body in a public forum. You're giving the entire public, by requiring 24-hour notice for a meeting, you're giving them warning that a meeting is going to happen to talk about this subject. So it's really to do everything out in the open and just give everybody an idea of what's going on. If there's a draft document, there are times where we would potentially share a draft document with individuals so they can give their feedback on it. But other than that, yeah, we want to do everything while we're sitting here at the meeting.
Okay.
Any other questions on those issues for folks? All righty. Derek, the next item on the agenda is an update on the DES-owned dams.
Yes, so what you do have that was on the table is you have about a page and a half that provides a status update on the 3 state-owned dams along the river that impact Goffstown properties. I provided you each with just a little narrative of when the dam was constructed and some of the items related to that. Starting with Hadley Falls, this is an item that came up last spring. In March and April, the town was notified that the state of New Hampshire was going to be surrendering their hydroelectric license back to FERC. They did that. They submitted a letter to FERC in October of last year saying it was their intention to surrender the hydroelectric project license. At that point, DES will take full ownership of that, and they have stated their intention is to remove the dam. They are currently working with an engineering consulting firm who's doing the waterbed, the water analysis, as well as some of the structural analysis of what's there existing to come up with plans and specifications for what will happen after that dam is removed. We do have on the town website, I just want to make sure I give it, if you look under the tab community, there is a Piscataquag dams info. We've tried to put a lot of the pertinent letters between DES and FERC up there. There's also an informational that if you want to go even dive deeper, there's an informational item at the bottom of how to search FERC's library. You can actually go in and search by dam, and it's pretty easy following the directions there, because we haven't put up every single letter that's gone back and forth, just what we felt was kind of highlighted. So that is the status of the Hadley Falls Dam.
So I think a lot of people know that DES already presented a conceptual plan, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. That may be a little premature to bring that out there, although I think it's pretty much common knowledge. as to what that plan looks like?
I think it'd be great, I can share it with the committee members of what was shared with the town of potential. Again, there was not a whole lot of engineering that went into it at that point, because they had just engaged their consulting engineer. And I can reach out to Corey Clark. Corey Clark is the chief engineer at the Dam Bureau under DES. And he's been very helpful of communicating where they are in the process, but I can get an update of where they are in their design process.
That's great.
The next dam as you travel down the river is Greg Falls. Again, this is the impoundment creates Glen Lake. Eagle Creek Power, or Eagle Creek Renewable Energy, currently operates the hydroelectric generation station there. They're currently working under a 50-year lease that runs through 2032. The state is working with Eagle Creek to renegotiate a lease on another dam that the lease runs out before this. And after they renegotiate that, they would move on to this one. So Eagle Creek is actively maintaining the dam as part of their lease agreement. Many of you recall that they dropped the water, I think it was in the fall of '22, to work on the powerhouse, and they do projects every year, whether they're working on the different parts of the dam. So they are actively generating electricity there. As you can see, it's quite a revenue source for the state of New Hampshire, just short of $150,000 a year on average. Another bit of information, last year the select board entered into a pilot agreement. This is a payment in lieu of taxes. Rather than paying property taxes based on the value of the property, there are certain provisions in law for power generation such as this, where they negotiated a 5-year agreement with the town, rather than paying on based on the value and a fluctuating tax rate. It helps the power generation plan, and was done to kind of ensure that they would maintain that dam and continue to stay there. So that runs through 2027 at this point. There's no indication that we've received that Eagle Creek is going to move out of that location. I think it's all subject to the terms of whatever they renew with the state of New Hampshire for that hydroelectric license.
Yeah, any of you who remember in 2022 when it was drawn down 30 feet.
Yes.
I mean, it came way down, and if you drove by Glen Lake, it was pretty stark the way that it looks. But it kind of gives you an image of what the river probably looked like, at least portions of it, before that dam was built. It was pretty eye-opening what it looked like.
Question, the FERC license is different from the 50-year lease, right?
Correct.
And the FERC license on the Greg Fall Dam has to be renewed every...
I don't know the answer to that question. I'll have to find out on, they have to submit monitoring forms to FERC, but I don't know on the hydroelectric license with FERC how often they have to renew that or what the process is. I do know they do have to renew it, I just don't know the frequency.
Okay, so I guess my question was if they had a FERC license out to 20, whatever, that would, indicate their willingness to stay as well. So I was just wondering what their current FERC license, do we know when it ends?
I don't, but
Okay.
That's something
Okay.
that we can definitely
Okay.
reach out to the state of New Hampshire and ask.
Okay.
Regarding that dam also, just a question, you said that they were looking at another, like picking up an additional property or?
They do hydroelectric at another facility that the
Okay.
state is currently renegotiating the lease with them on that.
Okay,
And Corey indicated that their focus is on renegotiating that lease before they renegotiate this lease. He anticipated, because this one goes out to 2032, I think? Yeah, 2032, that would be a few years before this one would be fully buttoned up for renewed and renegotiated.
Do you know what the other location is?
I don't, but that's another one I can find out. Eagle Creek has a very good website, and we're also in constant communication with the operator there, so I'm sure we can get that information for you.
Okay. Thank you.
I think a lot of that stuff is online, like the FERC licenses. I think we can look up all these dams. And find
Okay, okay.
out. I'm trying to find it now.
Yeah, like I said, if you go to the community tab and click on Piscataquag Dams info, there is a link at the bottom and it gives you exactly how to look up items on the FERC website, because everything, you can go back to 1960s and see all the correspondence that's gone back and forth between the dam owners, the dam operators, and FERC.
Okay.
So, and you can search each of these dams. You'll see it's got in parentheses a P dash and then a 4-digit number. That's the project as FERC defines it. So.
I'd say just from experience, it's probably a 20 to a 30-year license, if I had to guess. I don't know that for the fact off the top of my head, but it's probably
Yeah, I think
probably
it
the
is.
time frame.
That sounds about right, and the only reason we knew that is that was one of the next dam I'll talk about, Green Mountain Power. When they were in the process of renewing that license, that's when they were told that they had to make do either a fish ladder or some other plans for fish traveling upstream. So.
But those licenses are typically long-term. Nothing else, just because of the time frame it takes to get through the process.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can I just make one comment? I don't know what it is, the actual numbers are, but the Greg Falls Dam, where it says it's a 3,479 kilowatt hydro dam, it is interesting to look. Hadley Falls is like ridiculous. It's like, compared to that, it's like 4 megawatts or something. You know, it's really low. Kelly's Falls is not far behind that. So those two dams do not generate a lot of electricity. And I don't have the data, but I was surprised when I looked at how little energy. That's why Hadley Falls is, you know, just doesn't make enough energy to make it worthwhile. And I think that's the challenge with Kelly's Falls, is finding someone to
Yeah, they just
put
don't
the
make
money
any,
in.
they don't make any money, so it's no return on investment. You can't find anybody to take them over. It's just not.
Right. Whereas this one's, you know, Greg Falls is paying the state almost $150,000. That's making money. So I would think they would stay there as long as they can make money.
Yeah, just to give you a sense of the Greg Falls, is you would talk about it in megawatt hours. It's kilowatt hours here because it's so small. It's 3.4. Just to give you context, Super Oak Nuclear Station, their reactor there is 1,200 megawatts. So these are really in comparison. And I think, if I recall off the top of my head, I think Hadley Falls and Kelly Falls are both 400 kilowatts, so it's a half a megawatt. So that's, yeah, they're really, the place where they plug into the grid is what the value is there, not the actual dam itself.
And then, unless anybody had questions on Greg Falls, the last one is Kelly Falls. Again, Green Mountain Power was operating out of this location, and they began the process of renewing the hydro license there. But in 2023, they decided to surrender that hydroelectric license. One of the driving factors was the requirement that either a fish ladder or some alternative means of transporting fish traveling upstream above that dam was too costly for them, again, because it was such a small power generation. They decided to surrender the license. FERC approved that license surrender in April, and as of June, Green Mountain Power is no longer operating there. The hydroelectric has been decommissioned, and the state of New Hampshire now maintains and operates that. So the biggest impact to Goffstown residents is the flashboards that are on the dam. Previously, when those got knocked out, the dam operator would be able to let flow go through the dam and get out there and replace them. There are some different requirements now that it's not hydroelectric on. I believe they cannot do that. They have to wait till the actual flows go down low enough so that they can go out there and replace those flashboards, which maintain the level of Nemaski Lake. So, and then the DES is going to be having an informational meeting next Monday. And this is on our website, I'll send you an email as a reminder, at the high school at 7 p.m. And the purpose of that informational meeting is to discuss the fall drawdown of Nemaski Lake. They're going to be pulling the flashboards out and reducing Nemaski Lake elevation by 3 feet, which is a significant amount down in that area, in the middle of October. And they're stated that they will not put the flashboards back in until the early summer period, whereas previously it was done a lot earlier. They are doing that as a way to protect the flashboards so they don't have to do repairs due to the high flows or ice that comes in the winter and early spring. So they're going to be having an informational meeting that's going to talk about the drawdown as well as the future of Nemaski Lake and what's going to happen at Kelly's Falls. And that's next Monday at 7 p.m. at the high school.
And Derek, because we exchanged an email on this today, you also said no other info or discussion about the other dams will be happening.
I don't believe so. The stated intent that DES has said is they want to focus simply on Kelly Falls and Nemaski Lake at that one. At this point, it's my understanding they're waiting for the engineering to come back on Hadley Falls. Bragg Falls, is nothing really happening there. They're going to do their normal release. If anybody's ever seen a release there, all the kayakers come out for the release there. I believe that's the first weekend in October that they're doing that. And but yeah, so this DES is really hosting that informational meeting to focus on Nemaski Lake and Kelly Falls.
And the primary information of that meeting is just about the drawdown and the flashboards.
The drawdown, the flashboards, but also what their plan is for next summer.
Okay.
Their timeline, and let me just call up, I want to make sure I don't misquote Corey. In his, go back to his email real quick. It said, the meeting will occur, let's see, a public informational meeting to discuss the details and to answer questions concerning the current status of Kelly Falls Dam or the drawdown of Nemaski Lake. So my guess is it might get into a little bit of what is the future of Kelly Falls dams. I don't know how much information they'll be able to provide at that meeting, but it is, this does appear they'll accept questions on that. And if anybody was able to attend the informational meeting they held last fall at St. Anselm College, they shared quite a bit and answered quite a few questions. So.
They filled up really quick too.
It did, so that's why we tried to go to a little bit bigger space this time. And we're also going to be able to film it on GTV from the high school for those people that aren't going to be there.
But I think it's going to be inevitable that on the 30th, the dam will come up and what's going to happen with the dam. But that's up to DES to guide that conversation through that public meeting.
And what will happen with Hadley Falls Dam
This is,
on Kelly Falls?
Nemaski, yeah.
Oh, okay. So also being brand new to all this, would it be advised that we're part of this committee that we attend that meeting? I mean, does that matter?
I think if people are, I'm not going to notice it, that the committee would be there for any action, but absolutely, if you're able to attend and answer or ask questions as an individual, but also see what other people are asking about. Like I said, we are going to have GTV videotape it, so for those that aren't available Monday night, it will be available by video. So I think it'd definitely be helpful for members of this committee.
If you can make it, I would encourage you to. You will learn quite a bit.
Okay. And Derek, one more question. If I wanted to call Corey Clark because I wanted to call about something at my house, that's fine to do, right?
Yes.
Okay, just
Yeah,
as an
absolutely.
individual.
Yeah, he is a state employee. I can't speak for Andy. I know I've reached out to him many times. He's
I have as well.
very responsive.
Yeah.
We've tried to work with the state to provide information on the town website and answer questions, because we don't want to, as much as this is a huge impact to Goffstown residents, the state of New Hampshire owns 270-ish dams from the size of Greg Falls, that's, you know, making them money, to the size of Hadley Falls and smaller. So they've got, you know, they've got quite a bit of infrastructure that they're worried about, and quite a few communities that they're in. So we're trying to work with them to get that information out.
But Corey Clark is very approachable. And very
He is,
helpful.
yes.
Yes, and he will return phone calls.
Yep.
Typically, I worked closely with Corey when I was the Wetlands Bureau Administrator at the Water Division at DES. And so, I know Corey very well, and he is very, very helpful.
Do we know who I'm one of the three waterfront on the Piscataquag. Do we know who the other, you would be one of the other three on the Piscataquag waterfront
Onto
residents?
the charter.
Yes.
With regard to the membership?
Yes.
Oh, yes, so Dia is on her property is waterfront, Andy's property is waterfront, Paul, I believe yours
Yes.
is as
Yep.
well.
We kept the noise down for your wedding.
Yeah.
by the way.
I appreciate it, thank you very much. We weren't sure if that was gonna get out in time, but.
Yeah, I saw that, that was fun.
Excellent. And I think anybody that is on there, I mean, there's 342 property count on Namaski Lake, so the Kelly Falls Dam is obviously the utmost of importance, and I know you're saying the generation of power isn't significant there, but that is something that's going to be, I think, topic of conversation with anybody that lives on or around there that's affected by. So I don't know if the purpose of this committee is more protection or just informational, gathering information and dispersing it. I'm kind of confused or curious purpose of the committee for that.
No, I think it's definitely is gathering information, but also advising the select board. You know, on the last page, I did provide you with the 2023 assessments of all the waterfront properties, and those Namaski properties represent 2.65% of the total value of the town. That's a significant amount, especially if Namaski Lake were to disappear, for lack of a better way of saying it. That's going to affect those values,
Right.
Which is going to be devastating for those property owners, but it's also going to impact property owners throughout the town, because then what you're going to do is you're going to shift that tax burden to other properties as well. So I think it's really this committee's charge to get down in the weeds of some of these issues, and whereas the select board has a much broader scale of the things they're worrying about, I think this committee can really get into some of the weeds and look at some of the solutions that and advise the select board on.
Okay.
It's kind of like if I can, be the eyes and ears for the select board, communicating the message clearly, having the right people to give the correct information as opposed to, beliefs. Get an expert in and say, this is why this is happening. These are the options. To create that public forum for really good conversation.
And that's one of the really important functions of this group, is to be a singular voice, because too often you hear, different opinions about what's happening, whether it be from people around town, from state representatives, from folks at DES or whatever. The intent is to make sure we speak with one voice and we're presenting the information cohesively to the people without scattering it, the information, if you will. So that's an important part of what we do. But I'll also say, if there's something you hear about that you think is important to this group that we may want to consider, by all means, reach out to Derek or myself, and we will consider it and maybe put it on an agenda, depending upon what the issue we want to raise. But certainly open to your thoughts on items that we may want to discuss here as a committee.
I'd imagine preservation is first choice if we were able to do that, but
Preservation?
of dams and lakes
Well-
and whatnot. But if it's not just looking at assessed values and residents that live on the waterfront or anywhere near the waterfront, that there would be some sort of-
You might be surprised how divided public opinion is on that, because there is preserve the dam, preserve the water bodies for a whole host of reasons. But there's the other side that has the discussion, where they want to return all waterways to what they call free-flowing flow of the river.
Yeah.
Get rid of all dams, bring back the fish, let's go. So there's competing interests for sure
Okay.
on that.
And one of the other things you'll find on our website under that Piscataquag Dam, a lot of that's driving these requirements with the hydro license was the U.S. Fish and Wildlife commissioned a study, and I believe it's about 5 years, within the last 5 years, that looked at the Merrimack watershed. So the Piscataquag River feeds into that watershed, and one of the I guess the conclusions was to open up all these waterways to fish so they could go, as far as possible. So that was one of the driving factors, I think, on Nemaski and Kelly Falls, is to require that fish ladder there, which Green Mountain Power said the cost was prohibitive and didn't make sense for them to continue generating hydropower there.
Just to clarify something on the property thing, when you start talking about Namaska Lake, initially you said Kelly Falls is in Manchester, but most of the properties were in Goffstown, so
Yes.
these are 342 Goffstown properties.
These are 342 Goffstown
Goffstown
properties.
properties,
Yes,
okay.
this is Goffstown only.
Okay,
Our assessor was able to look at his database on what he had with
Okay.
waterfront and provide that pretty quick.
With the, I guess, the devaluation of property, I guess, if that were the case, and obviously this is hypothetical, but would that only be, I guess, a return to those residents in the form of tax relief, like property tax relief, or?
So the way in New Hampshire, we have a set amount of taxes that we need to collect, and that is to fund the town, the local and state education, and the county. And what we do is we take that total amount of taxes that we need to collect, and we divide it by the total value to get a tax rate, and then that's applied to each property. If all of a sudden you had a big decrease in value, your tax rate is going to go up, and then it'll get applied to each property. So in the case where you had a certain class of properties, let's say one of the Nemaski Lake properties lose percentage of value, that tax rate's going to grow up. They're probably not going to see a big reduction. What you're going to see is you're going to see an increase. I mean, you might see a slight reduction in some of those because their assessment goes down, but then it's going to push that tax burden off to different property owners. Because ultimately, what really creates what we have to collect for taxes is the budget that's passed for the town, school, and county.
But people's homes, property value going down would be a
Yeah, we
consequence in terms of like their property value, what they bought it for, what they sell it for, or anything like that. Like that's just kind of, well, I guess, what the market is, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be reimbursed for that decrease in value if that was your question.
Right,
I'm in the same situation. If this dam's gone,
right,
how much does my house go down in value?
Right.
And you could argue, I'm still going to be on waterfront, I'm still going to be on riverfront. It's a completely different riverfront,
right.
But the question I think is who owns the land if it changes behind your house?
Right.
And what's the legal consequences there?
Or what would their plan be for that land?
You may own it,
Right.
I don't know. So that will be a big question.
And
you're
that would
talking
be-
about like the riverbed that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
And that would be some of the, excuse me, some of the focus that I think this group we kind of look at, those.
Or message, or provide recommendations.
Right, right, as to what will be those changes as the river changes.
Yeah, because I think currently the state owns the land that's actually underneath the river, but then or underneath the lakes and rivers and things like that. But right, there's something very different has happened where all of a sudden that land is no longer underwater. Who then owns that land?
My deed
Yeah.
says I own to the river. So I would
Oh,
argue
interesting.
if the
Okay.
river changes, I own to where that river is. I'm not an attorney, but,
And it's my understanding Glen Lake may be
Right.
different
right.
because of the water impoundment. It's, PSNH actually owns almost a strip that they bought from whatever power and light company that built that dam there. So there's actually, it might be completely different around Glen Lake than it is Namaski or above Hadley Falls.
Typically in New Hampshire, although it's different with artificial impoundments like Glen Lake,
Right.
where it's not a natural river. But in the other lakes and ponds, those submerged lands are owned by the state for the interest of all New Hampshire residents, all people. With a river, that's always different. And a lot of the simplest cases, it'll sometimes convert to the thread of the river, but where's the thread of the river? This is where the lawyers make a lot of their money.
Could you explain the Glen Lake being, you said PSNH, that's like a man-made lake kind of a thing versus Namaski being more of a dam created?
Yeah.
I mean, if you removed one of the other dams, would Glen Lake then also just flow through the Piscataquag, and then there would be a natural flow through that one as well?
So like Eversource would own what they call the flowage rights
Okay.
on those lands that are underneath the impoundment created by Greg Falls, the Glen Lake Dam.
Right. And the only reason we know this is when Parks and Recreation, if you're aware of where that building is on South Mass, behind there a few years ago, they built steps down so people could launch paddle boards and kayaks there. We actually had to work with Eversource because they do, again, own a little bit of a deeded, and as in our research, we saw that they actually own that deeded kind of right all around the river, at least on the south side we saw that. We haven't done that same analysis of what it is on Namaski Lake, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
You can probably look back at your deed and see
Yeah.
that information.
Is there anything else folks want to talk about? I have a couple of closing comments, but I don't want to cut off anybody if they had any thoughts this time before we adjourn. Anybody?
I just had a quick question. So for Hadley Falls, you'd mentioned that DES is working with an engineering consultant to come up basically what it's going to look like once the dam is removed and that whole process. Do they have a timeline of when they expect that engineering report to be done?
I don't have one right now. Let me check with Corey. Again, the last time we touched base about Hadley Falls was in the winter.
Okay.
So let me check with him, and like I said, I will share the conceptual. They provided the select board with a conceptual plan of what it could look like.
But we're talking months, if not approaching years.
Oh, yes.
It's a long process.
Yes, it's a state employee with a lot of consulting reports, right? It's a long drawn-out process, yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely get that information.
And Corey, you're going to send that concept design to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would request that at the next meeting we have Corey in to give us all a set.
Okay.
You know, this is where we're at the state on all this stuff. This is what we know. It would be a good.
I can definitely make that request of him.
I'll
Whether
reach
it's
out to him, Derek. I'd be
yeah.
happy to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We have
Whether
the
it's
committee.
Corey or somebody else up
Yeah.
at the dam
Yeah.
bureau.
Yeah.
You know, we're formally set up as a committee. We should start engaging with
Yeah.
DES and make those connections.
So since we're talking about that, let's talk about our next meeting. And here's a good example you don't want me to be scribe. I had down here, 4th Tuesday of the month, 2 lines down, I had 3rd Tuesday of the month. I think we agreed on the 4th Tuesday, if I...
No, we
No,
agreed on the
third-
third
See, that's why I shouldn't be
Third
scribe.
Wednesday.
There was discussion, yes, we fell on the
So I
third
see.
Wednesday.
The 3rd,
October 16th would be
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
the next meeting, right?
Yes.
3rd Wednesday.
And can I ask as well, so as scribe and vice chair and chair, are there terms of these positions?
So
Or is
normally,
this just-
what we do is after, with a typical committee is after we reach town meeting, that's normally when most terms terminate on March 31st or when somebody is elected or appointed in their stead. So I think what we would typically do is when we reach that first meeting in April, we typically, with all committees, reach out and say, this is a good time to review who you have for your chair, vice chair, and in case scribe, and see if anybody, because there might be somebody that for whatever reason, might not be able to handle those duties anymore, wants to take a step back, and there might be somebody else that might step up. But usually we suggest that in April, and then if there's any point where the duties become too much for somebody, just communicate that. We can find somebody else to fill that role.
Thank you. I had the same question as you did. What was the timeline? Because Corey had said he was going to contact me about research being done at my house, but nobody's contacted me. That's why I was going to call him,
Okay.
just to ask about it. But-
Yep. No, I can get some of that information. This is not an ad hoc committee, so we do have ad hoc committees that are set up for a specified term. Recently, the Bridge Committee was initially set up for a 2-year term. They've been extended and their chart has been modified. This is designed to be more of an ongoing advisory committee to the select board. I guess until the point where either the select board or this committee feels there's no longer a need for it.
A question, why hasn't there been discussion about a fish ladder requirement at Greg's Falls?
Because there is a dam downstream from it currently.
Oh, so they don't need to do it because the fish can't get there because the other...
Exactly.
Okay, but if something happens at the Kelly Falls, then that might...
There may, and it doesn't always have to be a fish ladder.
Right,
So
could
the
be
one
if
other
they could
item
drive it
I didn't
around, yeah.
include in this is the state of New Hampshire did seek a sizable grant from the federal government to install a fish ladder at Kelly Falls and to do trap and truck, where they would actually catch some of the fish going into the fish ladder and truck them up to Glen Lake. They were not awarded that grant. It was a pretty competitive grant program. So at the point that Kelly Falls, if that dam gets removed or if a fish ladder is put in there, I don't know what the answer to that is, to be honest with you. What would then happen to Greg Falls? Would they have some type of, they may have some type of requirement in the future.
So regarding that grant, there was something on NHPR, I want to say 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and it went through the federal money that was specifically for certain dams, and then in the article it said there is a second round of funding upcoming. So I guess that's sort of like a date we don't really know, and it would be in the hands of the state to decide.
To apply for that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the select board did submit a letter of support for that grant in the fall, because going off memory, they put that in sometime of September or October of last year, and then they just found out a couple months ago that they were not successful in this grant round.
Excellent. So let me just clarify some confusion started by me, and I apologize for that. So we landed on the third Wednesday of the month. And next meeting would then be October 16th, is that right? Yes.
Yes.
October 16th, and it'll be at 6 o'clock. And we're gonna make sure we can get this room there.
Yeah, right now it's clear on this calendar, so I will confer with Catherine tomorrow and send everyone a confirmation email of the meeting.
And I will reach out to Corey Clark and notify him of that meeting and invite him to that meeting. If he
Yes.
Come and speak to the group,
That would be great.
and let you know what happens with that. Anything else before we entertain a motion to adjourn?
You're not going to talk about the compensation tonight?
Sure.
Does it make sense to, because
You know that trap and truck fish plan, well, you can have all the fish you want.
Thanks.
does it make sense, because we know it's the third Wednesday, once a month, to lay out, like, I don't know, a 6-month or an annual schedule? Or, you know,
Yeah, I mean, if you want, if there's certain goals that the committee has in mind, or deadlines that you want to try and target, it's something you can absolutely do.
Yeah, and I think now that we've taken care of a lot of the administrative details and stuff, that's probably a good idea to start thinking about that. You know, if you have some thoughts that you want to bring to the next meeting, we can start thinking more big picture stuff. Where do we want to focus on? Erosion, boat, recreation? I mean, what do we want to, where do we want to focus?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the dams tonight,
Yeah.
but the focus of this committee is not just the dams. It is the recreation, it's the impact of erosion or other uses along the water, the economic benefit of those. So yeah, if there's any other topic that members want
Yeah,
to,
it's the river.
it's the river, yeah.
Would we also discuss, so some of the questions, I actually was looking at the report, the 2010 Piscataqua River report that the state did. And I have a lot of questions from that. But like one of them is when someone buys a riverfront property, do they get information like, you know, about using fertilizer on your grass and all that kind of stuff? So is that something we would be also concerned about, the water quality, like from homeowners, and should we help with that, or is?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something that if you wanted to pursue, the town doesn't currently do anything. I don't believe, so the New Hampshire Lake Association does have an annual conference, and they publish a lot of that information and have stuff on their website. I don't believe they do that when there's a change of ownership, and I don't believe the state does anything. But yeah,
The Lake
there's,
Association doesn't do anything?
Nope.
yeah, so that's definitely something that if the committee wanted to make that recommendation to the select board, that would be something.
And you
we
could go
look
on the
into.
DES website, poke around too, because they have a lot of information about slow-release nitrogen fertilizers for waterfront homes. And in fact, they put out a number of fact sheets, they're called, one-page sheets on waterfront property owners and things you should be aware of.
Okay, thank you.
And I would also add, I feel part of this committee and part of my interest of joining it was to help message, as Andy says, and communicate what's going on. So people are always walking by my house and wondering what's happening with Hadley Falls Dam. So I think when you don't communicate, your imagination just goes wild, and nobody really knows much, or certainly not recently. So I would just add, I think that could be a focus, and maybe not to bring up now, but if that is, how do we communicate, so to be answered later. And I have one more administrative question, seeing as now I'm feeling the pressure of this all. Corey, I'm sorry. Derek, can you send this to me by email?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this a form?
Yeah.
And then do you prepare this, like after you get the agenda, do you prepare this each meeting?
Yeah, so what I've been doing for the Bridge Ad Hoc Committee is I look at the agenda, I look
Okay.
at what we have, and I populate as much as I can ahead of time, and I'll send it to the scribe and Andy as the chair.
Okay.
And then so our budget committee is currently touring school facilities and town facilities. We do a similar thing for our budget committee, where you give them a checkoff list and any, pressing or any follow-up that they want to do. And what the budget committee actually does is they hand in the handwritten form, as long as we can read. We can have somebody at town hall
Handwriting,
prepare it.
okay.
Because again, minutes do not have to be verbatim, but they do have to capture the business that was discussed and any motions and votes.
Okay, so that means one could just fill this in,
Yes. Yep.
just like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you looking to us, Andy, to do this for this meeting?
No, I have been keeping notes
I
here.
was hoping you'd say that.
Yes.
Okay, so, because I'd love to see how you do it the first time.
Yep.
Okay,
You'll get us started. We'll get you
to
started.
get started.
Yeah.
Thank you, Derek.
One more question. In terms of in the charter, engaging stakeholders, conducting research and analysis, is part of that dispersing this information, even though it's televised or recorded, to, like you said, neighbors walking by, asking questions or anything like that, dispersing it to other people in my area, or soliciting questions from them, like, do you guys have questions? Do you want me to bring it to the River Advisory Committee? Is that part of something that I should be doing here, or is that is this kind of whatever's on TV and recorded is what people see, and I'm supposed to kind of not speak on behalf of the Advisory Committee? Because I know we talked about speaking more, this is my personal point of view or opinion, but whatever we talk about here is that dispersible information.
No, I think, yeah, anything that you can disperse is very helpful to the town to get that information. And then if you are having conversations with people concerned about the river and you have concerns that we're not addressing or not looking at, yeah, if you can bring those to our attention, I think that's very good. I think collectively, everybody's going to have a different sphere of influence. They're going to have different neighbors, different friends. They're also going to have a different background. So yeah, I think if we all bring stuff to the table, it'll help the town in the long run.
Okay.
You know, GTV is recording all of these meetings, so you'll always be able to go to GTV and look for this meeting and look at a tape of what happened at the meeting and direct people there as well so they can.
The formal minutes will be posted on the website as well, so you can
Right.
direct people to the formal minutes as far as detail
Right.
of what goes on here as well.
But yeah, if you wanted to engage your neighbors and, you know, hey, what are your thoughts? Absolutely.
Okay.
Cool. I think it was like Camden, Maine, or somewhere up there. They had a similar issue where a dam was coming out. And if you go to their town's website, you'll see how they did their committee. And so it was like, so when this fluvial erosion study is done, you know, we would, this is what I'm thinking, you know, that person would come present it to this committee. And then we would post that report on the website. You know, and if anybody had questions, you know, they could certainly ask us, but there's the reality. This is what the data shows, and, you know, we have a chance to kind of bring it to the public. If people are attending, they can ask questions. Well, how will this affect my property? You know?
Right.
And there can always be public input too, right? We're gonna have a public session, you could open it up to the public as well. There's people here
It's
that,
not required though, right? Or it's typically, I don't think this is.
For public input, Eric, I don't think it's required, is it?
There's no requirement. It's really, I would say, it's up to you.
Up
If
to
you want
to the chair.
if you want to develop a public comment portion of the meeting, that's absolutely something that you can do.
Consider that.
The other thing is, a lot of times if all of a sudden you've had a bunch of these meetings and nobody shows up and then all of a sudden you have somebody in the audience, I think it's always good to ask them, hey, you know, why are you here? What are you interested in? And do you have any questions?
And also, if you want to do a little more research, the town of Exeter removed their dam
Yeah, there's another
recently,
good one.
within, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's a great resource, you can go look at they've got a nice website
Right.
that they built about that dam removal project, so there's another source you can go to for information.
And they didn't necessarily go back to the natural water course. I think they have some type of head wall that is smaller, not categorized as a dam, but I think if you look at that one, you see they did have some, the town did have some influence over what happened after the dam was removed.
But a good place to go, it's a good resource. Alrighty then, so our next meeting, October 16th at 6 o'clock, right here. You'll get an advance notice and a reminder and an agenda we'll put together. And is there anything else to come before the committee tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Dick, and a second.
Second.
We have to have a roll call. I vote yes. Paul?
Yes.
Is,
I'm an alternate.
That's
Yes.
great. Jane, how about you?
Yes, adjourn, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unanimous. Thank you all very much. I think you're going to find this work to be interesting and at the same time rewarding. I mean, this is a tremendous valuable asset to the town of Goffstown, and be a part of protecting, preserving, and restoring at times some of the benefits that the river brings to our community. I think you're going to find very rewarding. Thank you all, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.